We have a very active setup for severe storms with back-to-back storm systems for Thursday, Friday, as well as into Saturday, Sunday across the southern and central plains, as well as into the upper Midwest with widespread severe storms that would likely include large to, if not very large hail, damaging winds and tornadoes, as well as some tornadoes, and flooding is also a concern as well. So we're going to break down the details for you in this update. We still have a cooler shot of air that's highlighted for those areas across the Northeast. We are going to be experiencing a cooler shot and some rain showers out of the leading edge, but the main significant system will be out west. And you can see that first system that will be diving in from the west. And then we have another system that will be trailing back behind it. So here's the setup for Wednesday. This will be moving across, set up an area of low pressure highlighted across the Rockies. We are going to have a kind of a warm front draped across this boundary. That is going to set the stage for a significant lift and overturn the atmosphere, which would likely include those large tornadoes and possible large hail as well within this sector across western Texas, western Oklahoma, and western Kansas. Those will be moving across, and then we have a much more potent system that would be coming in for Saturday a little bit further south and a little bit more elongated, and that one would include those areas from Texas likely all the way up into Wisconsin. So here's some of the temperature anomalies, kind of where we stand right now. So we do have that cooler shot of air that is coming in for the Northeast, and you're still going to be waking up with some chillier conditions as we get into tomorrow timeframe for the morning. But you can see where the warm sector is. There's across the middle of the country with those warmer anomalies essentially extending from Texas all the way up into the Canadian border, and it's going to tap into some of those higher dew points as well. So right now this is kind of the calm before the storm. So it's kind of regenerating the atmosphere before those two storm systems come in. You can see the 60s starting to surge out of the Gulf of Mexico there into Texas, and those would extend into Oklahoma by the time we head into your Thursday morning and continue even higher as we head into Thursday evening. That's where the dry line starts to get active, a separation from drier and more soupy condensed air mass, and that will overturn the atmosphere when we have lift that's coming in from the west. That will cause those updrafts, cause the overturning atmosphere, and elevate those supercells. So we are expecting the potential for some severe storms heading into Thursday afternoon, but especially as we head into Thursday night, it could be very active there in western Oklahoma, western Kansas. And as we move the needle, this will only extend into deeper into Oklahoma as we head into Friday, likely weaken those areas into North Texas, but intensify back further into East Texas as we get into the heat of the afternoon through Oklahoma, through Kansas, back into Arkansas, as well as into Missouri. And then we have that second system that will be coming in for Saturday a little bit further south. So as some of the same areas get hit again with a bullseye there into Oklahoma, as well as into portions of Kansas, and those will spread as we get deeper into the day on Saturday night into Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, and even areas into Wisconsin would likely get into that severe activity. So for today, we do have a dry line type setup. So we are expecting a little bit of a convective complex to blow up in the heat of the afternoon. For those areas in far west Texas, you could get some marginally severe storms, so for pockets of Oklahoma as well as into Kansas here. But as we move to tomorrow, that's where things really get active. And I think they really get active as we get towards later in the afternoon, especially as we get into the evening overnight time frame. Yesterday, the Storm Prediction Center did in fact upgrade this to an enhanced risk for all modes within the Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma, western Kansas. And yes, they did include that hatched yellow significant risk for some of those could be strong tornadoes. That is that EF2 type variety But all along that boundary, we are expecting some large, if not some significant hail. That's what the atmosphere is calling for. So anyway, in this atmosphere, we could easily get some quarter size all the way up to tennis ball size hail. I would not even rule out some baseball size hail within this sector as we head into Thursday night. But going into Friday, that just continues to push off to the east. They will likely be highlighted in the morning time frame, possibly in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on a much weaker system, but further north into Oklahoma, a much more stronger, more potent system. But then those, as we get into the heat of the afternoon, they will likely refire back into East Texas, eastern Oklahoma, areas of Arkansas, back into eastern Kansas, into Missouri, lifting further north with this low pressure center that will be highlighted moving northeast at the time, back over to Iowa, and those areas back into western portions of Illinois as well. And it doesn't stop there, because yes, we have that second system come in. So this would be Saturday. So this extends a little bit further south. So it puts more areas into north and central Texas into play for some of that larger hail, possibly a spin up tornado or two. But the main sector is going to be right around the Red River, but especially there into Oklahoma. Widespread severe storms. Some of those could be significant storms, including possibility of strong tornadoes within this sector. But notice the extension lifting all the way up into Kansas, back into Missouri, back into Iowa again, and now we're talking Wisconsin will even get into the action, literally all the way up possibly into the Canadian border. And it doesn't end there, folks. This is Sunday, so it's a long duration event with 4 days of significant severe weather. Would likely be into East Texas by then, eastern Oklahoma, areas of Arkansas, back into Missouri, as well as more areas into Illinois, likely including possible the Chicago region. And yes, going up into Wisconsin, I probably can't even rule out by the time it gets here to Indiana, and even areas into Michigan for some severe storms, especially the deeper in the day we get into Sunday. But here's the overall high resolution guidance for the next 48 hours. You can see where the rain showers are. So you got that trough coming in from the northwest, including those areas in the northeast. Some just sporadic showers for, into the rest of the afternoon time frame. That's why we have some marginal risk storms highlighted across this region, because we are going to see a little boundary for those areas into Oklahoma. Some of those could turn severe on a marginally induced basis. And we are expecting a convective complex even as we get into later on tonight, back into areas of Kansas, as well as into Missouri and far northwestern portions of Oklahoma, with some elevated rain showers for them. And that would likely extend into Thursday morning with a much more concentrated system heading back over to Kansas and back into Missouri, and those will likely fishtail back into Arkansas as we head into your Thursday afternoon time frame. So as we get deeper into the afternoon, going into the evening hours, then all eyes will start to trend out west there in West Texas. Then this is where that much more significant updraft has come into play. We could be seeing some isolated supercells start to form later on the evening, and for those areas across far western portions of Texas. And we'll be having to watch this boundary, because the parameters are very significant for all three modes of severe storms as we head into the nighttime time frame. But we could be seeing a squall line, a convective complex that will move across Oklahoma, and overall in the overnight activity on Thursday night heading into Friday morning. So if I stop the clock here, into Friday morning, we should start to see a line of storms move across Oklahoma. Those would include large hail, some tornadoes, and damaging winds, and a little bit more isolated activity further south, weakening, because we are going to be into that morning time frame, but it only goes out 48 hours. So let me show you about what the kind of the global guidance is kind of hinting at right now. So we'll move the needle. It has that convective complex heading into Thursday morning from Kansas all the way up into Oklahoma through Arkansas, with some storm activity as the low pressure center will likely start to form there into the Rockies. And this will only deepen, so we have to watch this boundary because we are expecting a convective complex in far west Texas that will move across Oklahoma, those areas into Kansas, as the low pressure will likely start to deepen through heading up into Nebraska. And then on the tail end of that, all the way up into Missouri, back into Oklahoma again, going into North Texas into Friday morning. That would be your Friday morning. And the low continues to deepen, right? Now we're down to a 988 millibar. The low continues to deepen as it moves through Iowa, back into Illinois, going into your Friday night. So that's another active time frame as the first system will be extending all the way up into Wisconsin, and then likely some heavier rains through the Dakotas, but it's still pretty potent even as we head into, going into Friday night, as this system will be moving across. And then there's Saturday morning, right? We already seeing some action starting to form again there in far west Texas with another convective complex highlighted with that second system coming into fruition. That one looks to be highlighted over at the heat of the afternoon. This is 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, moving through Oklahoma, moving through Texas. That's why they do have that enhanced risk into play within Oklahoma that would extend into portions of Kansas. And that one moves into Missouri as well as into Arkansas. And then once they move into East Texas, they will likely refire again into the heat of the afternoon on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, with more widespread severe storms for them. And that would just extend all the way down further into Texas. And this is where it gets really elongated as we head into Saturday night through Missouri, with another deepening area of low pressure setting up over Nebraska. This will go into Iowa again, and this is the system that takes more of a bimodal type storm threat, with the southern flank moving across East Texas, back into Oklahoma, as well as Arkansas into Missouri, and then the northern flank will extend further north into northern Iowa, back into likely probably southern Minnesota and Wisconsin as we head into Saturday night. And you can see the storm complex, it doesn't end. So that's why I think even Michigan might even eventually get into the action. Chicago likely gets in it within Saturday night going into Sunday. And then there's that second system heading into the overnight hours on Sunday night. So it continues to remain active really all the way through the end of the month, and really highlighted across the middle part of the country. But once we get into next week, I think things do start to wind down a little bit, but it's going to be leaving a lot of rainfall in its wake. But let's talk about the significant parameters for tornadoes. So let's move the needle here and show you what we're talking about here, because this is your overall numerical guidance, what we have to look at. This is your Thursday afternoon, Thursday night. Look at the color starting to light up across the boundary. So yes, the parameters are very significant. That's why we do have that hashed risk into play within this sector, because we are looking at the numerical models, the short range guidance is hinting at a much more significant threat with the atmosphere. So it doesn't take much if those things start to come to fruition. They could be a large scale event with some large, if not some intense tornadoes within that sector. And that only moves through Oklahoma heading into Friday. And that would go into your, deeper into the Friday. These are your significant tornado parameters back into Oklahoma again with that second system as we head into your Saturday. So it's pretty active, right? The areas of rotation are going to be fairly significant for an extended period of time. And we're also expecting some very heavy rain with it as well. So we have a marginal to, if not a slight risk for excessive rainfall on Thursday from the Red River through Oklahoma, through Kansas, all the way up into areas of Iowa. Those areas in the yellow could easily pick up some possibly 1 to 3 inches of rain. That's just on Thursday. And then you have that second system coming in for your Friday afternoon, Friday evening, with another slight risk and a more of a bimodal threat with more of an extension threat. But overall, let me show you the rainfall parameters for the next 5 days. Notice the dry slot, right? You got a pretty extensive dry slot for much of the southeast and really a good part of the northeast as well. And much of Florida doesn't really get much of anything. It's just really highlighted across the central and southern plains here with that bullseye right there in Oklahoma, into Kansas, back into Missouri, and far northeast Texas, with probably flooding concerns. We'll likely see some flood watches, numerous flood warnings across this region, but a very soupy air mass essentially from Texas all the way extended into Iowa. And these areas definitely need some more significant rain. So this is a good thing. Unfortunately, it does come with severe storms, but that heavier rain extends all the way up into Minnesota, as well as into Wisconsin. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to like this video. Definitely hit the subscribe button and catch me next update while I protect you before and after the storm.